Hello, hello, hello. Oh my gosh, it is me. It's Marcus, and this is my little show that I like to call Spill It. Spill It is a show where I get to speak to inspirational people and share inspirational stories to connect people together, to inspire others, and to help people learn something new. This is episode 49, Things My Mama Says. And this episode is featuring Bobby Hedglin-Taylor, who is going to join us at 7:10 p.m. And I, for one, cannot wait because his story is epic. And I'm sure that you guys will seriously appreciate this when he comes on. Oh! So make sure that you like, you share, and you comment. It is super, super important. When you like it and you comment, it means that the algorithms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch will push it out to more people because it means that it's worth watching. And obviously, if you share it, it means that people who might not necessarily know anything about Spill It will come into the Spill It community and they might find something interesting to do with Spill It, to do with our episodes, to do with this particular episode, to do with all the episodes, even to do with me. They might find me super interesting. Who knows? Crazy things have happened. If you haven't checked out our other episodes yet, then you can do. Make sure you head over to the Spill It website at www.spillit.uk to catch up. You can find all the links to the live shows and also the podcast services over on the website. Get those comments and questions in, guys. As soon as you comment, it means that I get to pop it up on the screen. It means that me and Bobby get to interact with it as well. And obviously, if you've got questions for Bobby throughout this episode, then all you have to do is drop a comment and we can have a conversation about it. It's as simple as that. And there we go. And that is the end of my intro. How are you, lovely people out there? I love it. I absolutely love it. The sun has been shining for like 2 weeks now as well. It's been absolutely crazy. The sun has literally been shining for like 2 weeks. It has been crazy. The weather has been absolutely epic as well. And yeah, here we are. We're in the Spill It fold today. I bet plenty of people are actually out there in the sun. Really, I mean, to be fair, where I am right now, it's quite cloudy. We've had sun all day, but I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of people still experiencing the sunshine all around the UK. And good for you. Good for you if you're experiencing the sunshine still. Why shouldn't you be experiencing the sunshine, eh? Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Well. Let's talk about some announcement, shall we? It's that time of the week. Let's talk about some announcements. And have I got some announcements for you? Number one, very, very close to my heart, this one. Are you ready? I want to say a massive thank you to the Kids for Kids theatre company in Preston, who raise money for local children within the area. They have absolutely smashed the fundraising that they've been doing over the last few weeks, especially on, what was it? It was on Saturday. It was, wasn't it? Yeah. So on Saturday, the Kids for Kids lot walked the distance from Preston through to Blackpool. Now, for those who don't know what that distance is, it is a whopping 17 miles. So they walked the distance, and it was blazing sunshine too. And they walked the distance between Preston and Blackpool, and they have raised over £1,200 for Kids for Kids. That is an absolutely incredible amount. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's donated, and also to the walkers. There was 10 of them. I was one of them. So a massive thank you to me, but a massive thank you to absolutely everybody else as well who participated and who helped out, who shared, who donated. It is absolutely amazing the amount of support that you guys have given. So thank you. My next lovely announcement is a little bit of Marcus on the radio. Look at this little photo here. So I have, and for those who have been living under a rock forever, I have been asked to run my own little radio show. How awesome is this? So I am currently in training on the radio. I will officially be a radio presenter. I just think that this is absolutely amazing. When I talk about it, I have like a massive smile on my face. It's epic. I love it. But yeah, so the radio station or the radio program will be called A Little Bit of Marcus. And it'll be a little bit of Marcus here on the radio. Oh my God, I can't wait for the little sound bite and everything. But yeah, the show will be called A Little Bit of Marcus. And I will be playing the hits and talking about a little bit of news, a little bit of positive news. And I'll also have a guest once a month. Now, obviously, I don't want to take anything away from Spill It. Spill It is something that I have birthed. I have brought up, I have grown, I've taught it the rights and the wrongs of the world. So I don't want to take anything away from Spill It. So I will be not be doing a weekly guest spot, but I'll be doing a monthly guest spot, and I can't wait for that. It's going to be epic. But yeah, it's going to be called A Little Bit of Marcus, which means that I'm going to actually have for you guys as well. Obviously, there's people who want this Spill It stuff and the Spill It hats and the t-shirts, and look at this funky little logo from Spill It. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have all of that, but you're also going to have a little bit of merch as well. Oh, it's going to be epic. I can't wait. There's so many things in the pipeline, guys, and I have got you to thank for that. Really, you guys have given me this platform. You guys have built this up. You've built this community up. It's been absolutely epic. So thank you so much. Kian's straight in with the comments as well, with the clapping emojis for Kids for Kids. Thank you, Kian. Kian, for those who don't know, Kian is one of our stars. Well, let's be honest, he's one of our stars at Kids for Kids. So thank you so much for joining, Kian, and thank you so much for your applause for the efforts of the Kids for Kids committee lot who walked the distance between Preston and Blackpool on Saturday. And our last announcement for this week, before we bring the lovely Bobby Hedglin-Taylor out, my last announcement is that voting has officially closed. So for those who need a reminder, I have been up for a nomination award for the National Diversity Awards for Positive Role Model of 2021. An absolutely amazing opportunity, an amazing award that I've been nominated for. I couldn't even believe that I've been nominated for it at all. I am up against like some of these massive names as well. Some big names, some big companies who have all contributed towards the LGBTQ plus community. And people have nominated me for my work for mental health and the LGBTQ plus community. And I just want to say a massive thank you to absolutely every single person who has spent the time to vote for me and to put in their own nominations as well. So voting closed on Monday at 12 p.m. The next stage now is that they go through all of the information. They go through all of those votes that you guys have put comments about, and then they go through all of the evidence. And then if they think that I am suitable to be put forward, I will be shortlisted. Now, there's only 8 places for shortlisting. That's it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I am one of those 8 people. I'll obviously keep you guys updated. It's going to be absolutely epic. I can't wait. I can't wait. So yeah, hopefully I get shortlisted. If I don't, it's not an issue. I feel the love, guys. I've read all of the comments that you guys gave, like during your voting processes. It touches me. It's amazing. Thank you so much. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much. It has been an incredible journey so far for this nomination period. And let's hope that we get through to the next stage, right? Anyway, I digress. It is that time. It is 7:10. That's 7:10 UK time because my guest this evening is not in the UK. It is 2:10 over on his end. And it is time. So I would like to give my warmest welcome, all of the warmest of welcomes to my lovely guest, this evening. It is Bobby Hedglin-Taylor. Hello there, Bobby.
Hi.
How are you
I'm
this,
doing
for me,
great.
glorious evening, but for you, this glorious afternoon?
Yeah, it just started here. I'm in New York, so it's beautiful out. I can't wait to get outside, but I'm so happy to be able to spend time with you today. Been looking
Thank you
forward to
so
this
much.
one. We had a great chat a couple months ago, and
We
I'm
did,
so
yeah. We
happy to be
connected
here.
on loads of different levels,
Yeah,
and we were like, let's get together, let's put our heads together, let's get this episode out there. And
absolutely.
yeah, and obviously there was a situation. Obviously, so we were booking slots, and then you had an operation as well, which
Yeah.
meant that obviously we couldn't get that time together straight away, could we?
No, I had a full hip replacement. So,
Wow,
so I've been through 7 weeks of therapy and walking really well. So, this is kind of like, another pivot in my life, the way that the world is throw things at us, and you either, get hit with them or you dodge them. And, so that was just
definitely.
one of the ways I managed my way through this craziness. So.
But you are up, you are on the road to recovery, and
Oh
you
yeah.
are spending your time with us today, which we are so grateful for. Thank you so much for spending just even the smallest of times with us and making time out of your busy schedule, because you have got a busy schedule, don't you?
Yeah, I'm surprised that, as soon as the pandemic hit, it was like nobody had any schedule. So, and then slowly it's like, oh my goodness. So yeah, and this is always it's always a challenging time of the year anyway, because it's the beginning of summer and people want to get out of the house more, and people want to, now that things are better here with the vaccine, and our COVID numbers are down to 0.0083, I think was the latest, which is
Wow.
fantastic. So so it's nice to be out again. You still have to wear masks on the train and in public transport and things like that, but such a relief. It was a rough year. So
Good. I'm very glad that your numbers and things are turning around and things are looking up for you guys over there. We're in a similar position. We're just waiting now just to see what happens for us, because we're still in lockdown. So
oh jeez.
yeah, but
Yes.
we've got to think of positive. We're going to put a positive spin on absolutely everything today. We don't want to get bummed out
No,
with the details of COVID as well. So let's have a little bit of fun this evening. Are you ready to play a little game?
oh, absolutely.
Also, well, it is that time, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 5-second rule. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 5-second rule. This is a game that I play with all of my guests. It's just a bit of an icebreaker game, just to make people feel a little bit of relaxation. Basically, all I do is I ask you 3 questions. It's to name 3 things, and you've got 5 seconds to name those 3 somethings. Nice and easy. Are you ready to play?
Ready.
Awesome. Let's start then. Name 3 children of celebrities.
Rocco, Lords, Madonna's kids, Apple.
Can't forget Apple.
Apple is what's her name's kid?
Yeah, it's Coldplay's frontman and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow, yes.
Yeah,
her first daughter's name is Apple. I guess because corn stalk was taken. I don't know. These people have the most interesting names.
They do. Okay, next question. Name 3 things you do when no one is looking.
Oh God. Oh God. Pick my nose. Fart, pick my nose, and what else? I don't know. You probably don't want to be when no one's looking when you fart, but
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Your last one for this evening. Name 3 objects that start with the letter G.
Gee, good God, get a grip, girl. Again,
Oh, good God, get a grip, girl. Love it. 5 Gs. That's 5. I'm going to give you that one
I don't
just
even
because.
know. I don't even know what object. I don't even having more time. I'm like, what objects start with G? Ground is not an object.
If you're watching at home, guys, please comment with any objects that begin with the letter G. And if you are listening to this via podcast, or you're listening to this afterwards, then you can drop me an email at marcus@spillit.uk with your answers of what you think starts with the letter G. I would have said golf ball.
Oh, okay, good one.
Maybe a gate. It's an object, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go into the comments. Scott has just done a laughing face. Scott, you can't just do a laughing face. You need to tell us what you think it is. What other object begins with the letter G? We would love to know, Scott. Okay. Well done. How do you feel?
I'm feeling great. Feeling great. And again, laughter is the best medicine no matter what you're doing.
It is. It's just a little bit of a game, just to play, just to make us feel a little bit better. Well done. No, there are no winners. There are no losers. I would love to hand out trophies to people, but that's not going to happen. Okay, let's start from the top. Here is my main question for you. Who is Bobby Hedglin-Taylor?
Oh, God. Well, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania on a mountaintop, and my great-grandfather and grandfather bought plots of land up there, and my great-grandfather had 13 children, so everybody settled around him. And
wow.
So my entire family was on the top of a mountain, and we settled there as well, and my family's Sicilian, and Hedglin is obviously not a Sicilian name. As I was saying, it's actually an Old English name, means people of the hedges. Born and raised there, crazy dysfunctional Italian upbringing on the top of a mountaintop. Went to school for theater, got a scholarship to the Stroudsburg Ballet Theater, where I did several ballets, and then I was a ballroom dancer. And then I went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy on full scholarship here in New York, and got involved in the Broadway world and theater, professional theater, everything from rock concerts to cruise ships, Broadway, off-Broadway, national tours, and international for that one time I worked in Canada. But that's what formed me as a person. And then in the late 80s, early 90s, I started training as a trapeze artist, and then I ended up adding that as another hyphen to my art. Excuse me. And so I was a trapeze artist as well. And
wow.
And then I was traveling with Circus, doing nightclub work. We had a lot of nightclubs in the 90s that had aerial equipment over the dance floor, not for the patrons, but they would hire us to come and perform. So that's how my performance career has sort of been all over the place. And in a recent podcast, someone called me the multi-hyphenated artist. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
Multi-hyphenated artist. So for those who don't know what that is, because that's the first time that I'm hearing that, can you explain what a multi-hyphenated artist is?
When people tell you about New York, what's our slogan at New York? If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Any actor who came to New York to become an actor has to have another plan unless you are independently wealthy. So you have to know how to do other things to make money to support yourself. And as an artist, if you can actually have hyphenated your work to the point where you can be doing different art and actually having income from that art. So I was a trapeze artist, I was an actor, I was a dancer, I was a singer. I used to work for a gay dating service where I would hook people up, gentlemen to get to hopefully have fruitful, ongoing relationships. I was a bartender. I tap danced in front of a bank wearing a lion suit for Chase Manhattan Bank and sending out flyers. I worked at Mama Leone's restaurant and as a waiter, and I was also a bartender, cocktail waiter at Uncle Charlie's downtown, which is an old gay bar. Do I have to come out? Shit. Okay. just having to, when you live in a place like New York where it's very hectic and also very expensive, you have to be able to pivot on a dime. You have to be able to have multiple irons on the fire so that you have income to support your art. Because sometimes you're just supporting your art. Sometimes the art's not supporting you. And
Definitely.
as an actor in the early days, you know, I would be in the same waiting room as some people that are making it huge right now. And, you know, you just never know what cards you're going to be dealt. So I would leave that audition and go perform at Webster Hall on the weekend, you know, and as a trapeze artist. So it was like there was always something happening, and that's where that's how I've always been an artist. It's just the medium has changed. It's not necessarily painting with a paintbrush. You know, I also do what's called aerial sequence design, and I train acrobats for Broadway shows and cruise ships, where we use either cabling or a circus apparatus in a musical that would move the story along. Things like Tarzan. I did the revival of Pippin, and the musical Chaplin about Charlie Chaplin. I taught the lead actor how to walk a tightrope. So
Wow.
I combined those things to, you know, it's just to combine theater and circus is one of my absolute loves. And then I got well known, and I've been doing that for a while. I worked with Phish at Madison Square Garden. I was one of the 18 acrobats who touched the ceiling of Madison Square Garden, 75 feet in the air. I'm one of the oldest. So, you know, so my career really has like gone in so many different directions. So being, you know, someone saying, oh, you're a multi-hyphenated artist. I'm like, yeah, I guess that sticks to me. I'm going to keep using that.
To be fair, it is epic, and it is you down to a T with everything that you've just explained. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you straight off the bat was about Broadway. So obviously you mentioned that you
Yes.
did work on and off Broadway. Now, from what my understanding of Broadway is, it's very hard to get work in Broadway, isn't it?
Yes.
And I'm just wondering what it was. So obviously you as a young performer, heading over to Broadway to obviously try and make it big. What was that experience like? Firstly, when you were first starting out trying to get onto Broadway, but then also that feeling of when you got your first job.
Oh my goodness. From a kid from a poor family in Pennsylvania, coming to New York with $35 in my pocket and a full scholarship to a theater school, I had big dreams, but not a big wallet. And unfortunately, New York is very expensive, so you had to think on your feet. And so when I got here and I started to actually, I was getting work. I was getting acting work while I was in school. So I was doing things. There were different showcases around town, even though we weren't allowed to. We're not supposed to be doing that when you're in theater school. You're supposed to wait till you graduate. But then there was a break, and I did the musical Cabaret. I was on the road with that for a while. I was what's called a swing. The swing is the male dancer in the chorus who covers the other male dancers in case they're out. If they do something special to move the story along, then I would be in their spot. I would be singing their part. And then I was a standby also for the MC, which is the lead, the Joel Grey role. And this was back in the early 90s. He had just done the role on Broadway, so it was pretty fresh in people's mind when we were out on the road. They wanted to see, you know, even though I wasn't touring with Joel Grey, they wanted to see that kind of a version of the show. And I was also one of the dance captains. I had to know all the choreography, even the girls' choreography, and because I would have to teach different people what it was when they were coming into the show. And then I was working in Connecticut, and I was doing the stage version of Singing in the Rain. And yes, we had a rain machine. It rained on stage, and it was, you know, it was thousands of dollars. But this theater was going under, basically. So they stopped paying us at different times. And the next show that was in line was Gypsy, starring Stephen Schwartz's wife. Now, Stephen Schwartz, we know, wrote Wicked and Pippin and Godspell. And Stephen Schwartz was the director, so I really wanted to work with him. But at the same time, I got an offer to work in Las Vegas, making a huge amount of money compared to what I was making in the show. And then the theater stopped paying us, so I just said, you know, I have to take this other job. And so I ended up working in Las Vegas for a while as a trapeze artist. So I sort of left the theater at that time because I started to get more work in the circus world, and I was bouncing back and forth with theater as well. But I never actually performed on Broadway. And that's the one thing that I still, that I'm still like, it's in the back of my head, like, oh, you're not dead yet, you know? You know? But what I did do was for the musical The Frogs, which was a Stephen Sondheim musical in 2003, I trained one of the chorus girls who was one of the frogs, one of the lead frogs, to do some aerial stuff. And that sort of got me moving into the Broadway world where people started to recognize me, know my work. And then it wasn't until 2012 when I was called to do the musical Chaplin, where I actually opened up the playbill and saw my name and bio in the playbill, that I was like, thank you, God. Even though it wasn't on stage, it was still a credit. And then I had another off-Broadway version of Midsummer Night's Dream with Bebe Neuwirth, Christina Ricci, and what's his name? Taylor Mack. And I had trained some of the people in that show to do some aerial stuff as well. And so opening the playbill, ever since I was a kid, you open a playbill, you read the bio, where these people are, who they are, whether they're a star or not. You still read the bio. You still spent that first 10 minutes of your sitting in your seat waiting for the show. And I opened it up and I was like, oh my God, that's my name. And I still like get chills thinking about it, because there's something you longed for. But now, you know, one last dream in the pocket is you know, to actually perform on a Broadway stage. And now that I have a new hip, I can dance again. So who knows what's going to happen? There's a very famous saying, and I'll never forget it. I worked with Jerry Mitchell, who's actually in the UK right now with Pretty Woman.
Okay.
And I worked with him for the past 4 years on a show called Broadway Bears, which is a Broadway strip show where very sexy Broadway dancers take their clothes off to raise funds for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And Jerry started that organization, started that whole show. And his quote is, "Dreams don't have an expiration date." And I will never forget that as long as I live.
I really like that quote.
Yeah, they don't have an expiration date. So, you know, hey, I haven't checked it off yet, but, you know, working behind the scenes on Broadway, check. Now it's time to get on stage.
That would be absolutely epic as well. And to be fair, like, I mean, Leela put on as a comment before, I popped it up before, but what an amazing career. And to be fair, I mean, you are right, it's not over yet, but what a great career you've had so far. That absolutely epic. Like, people would only dream to do the things that you've done, and you've done it. Essentially, you've ticked it off the box. But it's not the only thing that you've done. And well, obviously, we're going to start talking about family and things like that very shortly. I'm just wanting to know, because you mentioned that the family have obviously been very close, and I'm just wondering what their thoughts were when you moved to New York and started going on Broadway. Like, were they very supportive of that?
Actually, no. My grandmother, my mother, my father. My father was very proud of me when I was going to college in town. I was in Pennsylvania. And he was like, this is my son. He's going to be an actor, blah, blah, blah. My grandmother and mother were like, you really should go to school for computers. You really, you know, computers are big right now. You're going to be good. And I was like, no. And no, they were not supportive of me moving to New York at all. In fact, my dance teacher, Kathy Jo, actually packed, she came to my house, my apartment. We packed her car. She drove me to New York. My family wanted nothing to do with it until they saw me getting more successful and having different things come up. By the time I was doing that show, Singing in the Rain, they all drove up to see me in Singing in the Rain. Now, mind you, I'm just tap dancing in the chorus, but it was a big show. And to have that many people like, finally, you accept this. And then I'm like, hey, sorry, I'm leaving the show. I'm going to Vegas to be a trapeze artist. You know, so it's just like, what? You know, and, you know, that sort of threw everybody for a loop, you know, and, you know, there's so many things that happened to you during that time period. You know, I had to come to New York to come out. Again, I'm coming out because Pennsylvania was not the place for me to come out. Mm-hmm. It was not accepted. It was very much shunned. It was very much, there's so much homophobia there at that time that it was not a safe environment. And every time I was coming to New York as many times as I could get here. Even from the time I was 16 years old, my cousin and I would come to New York. We'd ride our bikes into the city, or we'd take the train in. and we'd go see Broadway shows. And she would never tell my mother, because my mother would flip out, because, oh my God, you're going to New York, you're going to get molested, you're going to get, mugged. And I never did. It was always a fun time, and it was always an adventure, and I always saw a great show. But no, they weren't as supportive as they could have been. But after a while, they were. It took them a while, but they finally came around. Just like them finding out I was gay when I finally had to come out. They had to take a step back, because all those years of hating and being homophobic to others, there was finally one in their mix. And now they were like, well, what do I do with this information? And it was around the time my father passed. So it was just not the best time for me to come out. But it happens when it happens. And you live your truth. And, instead of trying to create a truth that is for somebody else. And I just knew that I needed to be in New York. I needed to be able to come out in New York, first of all. And then my career was always going to be in New York City.
It's great to hear your full story as well. Like, I wasn't expecting to really for you to divulge stuff like about like coming out and things like that. And it's so good to hear. And thank you for being open with us whilst talking about things like that as well. Moving your story forward, so obviously you not that you stopped doing the Broadway dream, but your focuses have been elsewhere, and I'm just wanting you to divulge some of that for us.
So what you mean when I put circus and theater together? So I had, through the 90s, I was working in nightclubs mostly, but touring. I did a magic show, and then, but as an acrobat, and having not had that touring experience other than when I toured with Cabaret, it was really fun to be out there doing different things, going to different cities. But then I came back to New York, and it was like, oh my God, I can put theater and circus together. And I did several productions of the musical Barnum, and I was the swing also. I covered 17 roles, because in Barnum, not all the acro tracks are gender specific. So I was the one swing that covered everybody, men and women. And I even covered P.T. Barnum, the lead, on several productions. So I not only knew his track, but I knew everybody else's. There are three female leads in the show, and I couldn't cover them, but I did end up covering one time. The World's Oldest Woman is one song, Thank God I'm Old. And it's usually an African-American woman, because it's based on Joyce Heth. So we were in Texas, and our Joyce Heth and her cover were both out. And I was the only one who knew the track, because I would put people into the show and I would teach them the track. So they were like, we can cancel the show, or you can go on as Joyce Heth. Well, I went on as Joyce Heth. I wish I had video and photos, but it was just like, it was such a spur of the moment thing. But as a swing, that taught me so much about theater and how valuable swings are. And if you ever see or know a swing in a Broadway show, or even any musical, you look at how fast they can change on a dime, what they know and how they remember everybody's moves, what they sing, what they dance. And it taught me so much. I got more training from doing Barnum than I did going to school for 6 years for musical theater, because it's an incredible think on your feet kind of an exercise, where you literally have to stop, get out on stage in costume, and remember everything that you're supposed to remember. And there were times when multiple people were out, so I would have to combine tracks, and it'd be like, you're doing this, you're starting this scene as this character, but you're ending this as this character, and you have to do a front tuck over the table in this character. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I got it. And also there were people that would come into the dressing room on a night that I wasn't on, and they would say, hey, I think I tweaked my ankle. Could you do the finale for me? And then I would be like, sure. 5 minutes, I'm in costume. And then whatever their finale acrobatics was, whether it was a trapeze, a rope, a fabric, whatever it was, I would be out there doing it. And anyone who wants to get into theater, I recommend you talk to a swing first, because that is where I cut my teeth. And that's something that I love too. I would kill to be a swing again, like just to be able to do that again, even if it was just covering a few parts. It's really, really, I'm a Gemini. My birthday's for this Friday. So I'm like, it's like I get this really a rush from having new things tossed at me. And then I started doing theater. And then finally, Broadway Called, and I taught Rob McClure how to walk a tightrope for the musical Chaplin, where he played Charlie Chaplin and he walked a tightrope in the show. They ended up doing a ZFX kind of a cable thing, but I taught them the effect. I then did the musical Pippin, where the revival. I trained Andrea Martin to do trapeze. She won a Tony Award for her trapeze act. And then I taught Patina Miller to do trapeze in that show. And then I also taught Charlotte D'Amboise to do some aerial hoop, but we ended up cutting it before we went out of town to Boston. And she ended up doing a different act in the show. But that was sort of like, you know, those were my three big Broadway shows were the Frogs, Pippin, and Chaplin. And then Broadway Bears, of course, has been just, and please, if there's any charity out there that I am big supporter of, it's Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And I fundraise for them every year. So check them out.
We'll definitely drop a link for them after the show as well, just so that people can see a bit more information about them and do what they can do to support as well, because we're all about supporting people over here in the Spill It community. So moving forward to obviously the pandemic, obviously you wouldn't be able to do the trapeze work and work on Broadway and things like that. How did you fill your time during the pandemic?
Well, okay, I don't want to get too sad, but I do have to explain how it happened. Mm-hmm. So the beginning of the pandemic happened and my mother passed away. She was living in a nursing home. We believe it was from COVID. And then 2 days after she died, I woke up with 104 fever. I had COVID as well. While I was in that fog and laying in bed for days, weeks sometimes, I started to think about my mom. We weren't able to meet as a family, but the ideas of my home and that crazy upbringing, I started to write a cookbook based on my family. Escape to Ravioli Mountain came to my head, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. And then while my mom was in the nursing home, I would post on Facebook using the hashtag shit my mama says. And I started to compile all of my mother's catchphrases. So that became a book as well. So I wrote 2 books during the pandemic. Another complete pivot. I'm also an officiant. I officiated 6 weddings during the pandemic, both virtually and in person, with masks, without masks on Zoom. And I also did some stand-up comedy on Zoom and got paid for it. So there are so many different aspects to what I did to keep myself busy during the pandemic. And, there was no trapeze in my living room, so I couldn't train anybody, although, I could possibly put one up, but we don't want that. Don't want to upset my neighbors or my landlord. But no, the idea though is that when everything went virtual, I had to find ways to express myself artistically because I'm an artist. All my life, my body was the paintbrush, and the stage or the air was my canvas. Now I'm sitting here and I'm like, what the hell do I do with these keys on this keyboard thing? And I'm not a writer. I will say this, and I encourage everybody to do this. Write everything, memories down, jokes down, write them down. Use your auto dictation on your phone into the notes section. I wrote a lot of my thoughts that way. I do a thing called mind mapping, which I learned from doing a weekend of new authors kind of a workshop. And basically you take your idea and put it in the center of a page, and then using your pen, every word that comes to mind about that center word. And that's gave me the chapters, it gave me the book, and it just helped me clear my mind. But it was like, I'm not a writer, I'm not an editor, I'm not a chef, but I wrote a cookbook. And and it's actually 146 recipes. There's lots of stories from my family, and lots of great funny stories that came back to me that are, my first words were fucking reindeer. So that's in the book. When my mom first got sick before the pandemic, she was going back and forth to the emergency room. So because she had dementia, I would sit with her and she would randomly tell me these stories. And your first words were fucking reindeer. And I'm okay, Mom, sure, thanks. Then she told me the whole story. And so it was like, I had to put that in there. I had to put these funny things because it was like that farcical nature of everything that she was saying was very real. And it was what I grew up around. And it was just like, I knew that it could connect people to other people. and that I knew that it could give some laughter and humor and joy to people who may have had somebody in their family with dementia, or have somebody who had passed during COVID. It's that connection is what both of my books are about. Now, Shit My Mama Says is a book of quotes, and it's a small one. If you think about, and both books will be out at the end of the summer, but if you think about those books that you get at the checkout, and they're like these little books, like you open them up and it's like, you're gay when, your dog's name is, or your 4 dogs' names are Dorothy, Sophia, Blanche,
Yeah.
and, that kind of thing. But it's that kind of a thing that, and you pick it up and you automatically look at it. There's one quote per page, and it just makes you laugh. But it'll connect people with that, and so that's where the pandemic sort of led me down that path while I was healing, while going through the issues with my mom, and helping her sort of get to the other side, I guess, as well as not having a chance to grieve with my family. That was what it all came to be, and I can't wait to share it with people because it still makes me laugh. And even the editor is like, he's like, I'm peeing myself laughing reading this, and I'm like, good, because that's the point. Laughter is what it's about. Laughter is what I'm
Definitely.
after.
So essentially, you were using or channeling your grief from obviously the passing of your mother.
Yeah.
You were channeling that into something productive as a way to kind of deal with it yourself, but then also remembering her in a better light, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, not to be morbid, but I live in Queens, New York, which is right outside of New York City. We're just, a little suburb, but it's where the outbreak happened of COVID.
Right.
I lost 3 relatives, 17 friends to COVID. I was sick with COVID. Every 20 minutes, a ambulance would pass the front of my house because they were all headed to the hospitals, to the point where the hospitals were overrun. And every time you hear an ambulance go past your house while you're sick with the thing that basically they're taking them to the hospital for, you wonder which siren is going to be for you. And I was very scared. And I have an amazing support network, so I have amazing friends. I did not tell anybody. I didn't let my boss know until it was fairly, I was on the other side of it. I vague booked about it on Facebook, and when I started to feel better and when I started to come out of it, that's when the stories were very healing. And you just get wrapped in those memories. And I didn't have access to therapy. So it became my therapy. It became my therapy to relive those fun times. And you want to focus on the fun time. No one wants to hear about, the craziness and the dysfunctionality. They want to read about the fun times. And that's what I want to share. And that's why people are really excited about, the connection that I can bring them with this book. Plus, every recipe has 2 or 3 options. If you're a vegan or a vegetarian and you can't eat meat, you can make a vegan bolognese that tastes very similar to my grandmother's. So I went through every recipe and made it so that you can apply it to different diets. So yeah, it's a very, very traditional Italian cooking. If you want to do the traditional way, this is what you buy. If you want to do a vegan or vegetarian option or gluten-free option, here's your suggestions. And, give people that as well, so that, because diets have changed, people have changed. And then I also know that when people connect I connect through food. A lot of people with my friends. When I have people over, I'm always I make a big meal, very Italian. I always, infuse alcohols to make sure we have like the perfect strawberry lemon vodka to make strawberry lemonade with. All of those things came part of the book. And now that we're in New York, sort of getting on the other side of COVID, I'm starting more and more to connect with more people and have more connections to share that with. So as soon as the books are out, then I'll be able to reach a larger audience.
So talking further about these books, because I'm really, really interested, and I'm just wondering if you'd be able to give us a bit of insight. So obviously you said that they should be ready by the end of the summer. When can people expect them?
Sometime in August, they will be available on Amazon, Walmart, and Barnes & Noble. The editing process is ludicrous. If there's anybody who's listening who's an editor, my hat is off to you. I bow to you, because editing is definitely an art and a skill in itself that I have not been able to master. So I'm clear with that, but they know, all the editors have said the heart is there. There's a, you know, like I when you go to college and you study different things, you have basic knowledge of the English language, but you never practice it. You don't practice it that often, especially when you're writing this kind of thing, when you're trying to tell a story, and trying to, you know, like my story about my first words, you know, I try to tell people the whole thing, you know, but it's hard to get all the details in.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, let me tell you the story of my first words very quickly. So I was as a toddler, I did not speak. They thought I had hearing problems. I would not make words. I was terribly shy. So my mother always bought 2 of everything for me and my brother. And at Christmas time, she bought these 2 inflatable reindeer. And there's 2 inflatable reindeer by the tree. We start playing with them. One pops. We start fighting over the other one. My mother, like a ninja, comes out of the kitchen with a wooden spoon, you know, and grabs the reindeer. Give me that fucking reindeer. Throws it in the closet and sends us to our chairs, our thinking chairs. Time out back then. And then we, you know, of course, I'm sure we were both, you know, angry at each other and staring each other down, you know, like an old John Wayne Western. Then we hear a car pull up, and it's my grandma. So I'm like, I guess in my little mind, I thought, ooh, I know who can get me that. My grandma can get me that. So she comes in, we run to the door. I grab her skirt, and I'm crying and pointing to the closet door. Nana, Nana, fucking reindeer, fucking reindeer. So, and she's like, oh my God, he can speak. You know, it didn't matter. I said fucking reindeer. But that was how it happened. And those are the stories, like those are the ones, like, see, you're laughing. And that's exactly what all the stories are. There are more stories like that. My mother told the story of how I was conceived on a beaver dam while on a camping trip with my dad. And I was like, Mom, no, I don't want to imagine it. But I looked through our family home movies from before I was born. And guess what? There's a camping trip. There's a cabin. There's a lake. And there's a beaver dam. And I'm like, no, God, please. But I guess I'm one of the few people who can actually have video footage of the location that they were actually conceived at.
Oh dear.
But those are the ridiculous stories, and that's how my mother had this infectious way of we called the church giggles. She was not religious, so if we were in church and she could see one of us was having a little bit of a moment, we were a little sad or something, she would tickle us to try to get us to snap out of it. And she had a coping mechanism that no matter how sad or stressful, she would make us laugh. And she collected all these albums of stand-up comedy. Eddie Murphy, George Carlin, Joan Rivers. We had every single one, and she would play them incessantly. And so I had that kind of in my ears when I was growing up, stand-up comedy. And that was her way of coping through the hard times. And I only found that out through writing this book and to remembering these incidences where she was, you know, she was in a stressful point in her life and she was able to snap out of it by making someone laugh or by being funny, breaking that pattern. So, and that's where we grew closer together even after she's passed.
Yeah. Because obviously you're still obviously going through those motions and things like that with obviously the loss of your mother. And I'm just wondering, so during the pandemic, we've lost quite a lot of people. We've lost friends, family, even just not with COVID, but obviously suicide rates have gone up and things like that. And I'm just wondering, because obviously you've gone through it, you've channeled your grief into something productive and kind of seen a lighter side to help you cope. I'm just wondering if you'd be able to give anybody some advice on you know, obviously you can't tell somebody how to grieve or anything, but
No.
you know, with regards to anybody that might be feeling some type of way because they have lost a loved one or a friend or somebody close to them, just any words of wisdom.
Um, I actually have a tattoo on my back, and it's Winnie the Pooh hanging off of a trapeze by one hand and holding onto a honey pot. When you're hanging on by one hand, hold on to the sweet things, and that's what that means to me. That tattoo, that was always it was something that a student drew for me in 1993. The trapeze student of mine. I was like, you know, I love Winnie the Pooh. I'd love to do a trapeze tattoo, and so it was in my desk drawer for years until I think I got my first tattoo in 2009. So it really resonates with me. So the one thing is the sweet things in life, the sweet things, the sweet memories is the humor. Find a way to laugh every day. Watch a silly movie. Put on some stand-up comedy routines. You know, look at old YouTube routines of Joan Rivers, of George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Whoopi Goldberg. There's a rhythm and a science to humor and to comedy. So you really have to get that cadence when you're setting up a joke. You know, I wish some of the RuPaul's Drag Race contestants would actually learn a little bit of that before they go into the stand-up comedy routine. Some of them are ghastly, awful. And I'm like, oh, girl, no, don't do that.
Where are the jokes?
Where are the jokes? Exactly. Where are the jokes? By the way, love UK Drag Race season 1. I have not seen season 2 yet, but please, I love Bag of Chips. Bag of Chips is probably one of my absolute favorite drag queens of all time.
Bag of Chips is amazing. No spoilers for season 2, but season 2 is even better. So you have to make sure that in your downtime you're gonna have to start watching season 2.
Yeah, I will for sure. But yeah, it's about finding humor in everyday things, as well as writing. I write everything down now. But on my phone, on my cell phone, I open up the notes section and I put the auto dictation on. Now, auto dictation has a sense of humor, so you do have to go through it and make sure that it says what you want it to say. I was a friend of mine was a middle-aged woman. She was thinking about a musical that, you know, she's older. She's done a lot of TV, but she was thinking about doing a musical on Broadway. And I suggested the musical Ballroom because it was, you know, it was not very popular, but it's got some good songs. But it's about ballroom dancing and this couple that meets in a ballroom dance. And she said to me, and this was a text on Twitter, actually, it was a tweet. Oh, that's funny. I have that scrotum on my nightstand right now. Now, she meant script. She meant script. But if you know anything about autocorrect, that means that she wrote the word scrotum somewhere else multiple times.
Yeah. Because it learns how, like, what you say, and like
okay, the third word, you know, I would always just scrotum, script, they sound alike, you know. You know, yes, director, what does it say in the scrotum? You know, line. You know.
I love it. I might have to substitute script for scrotum now on a daily basis.
Oh God, yeah, and you know, you have a good laugh about that kind of thing too. But then sometimes when you're editing through it, you forget what you were saying. And if it was that important to put it in, you really want to go back and make sure it's what you want to say. Otherwise, you just lose different parts of it. So I have a good laugh every time I do that, because sometimes I'll look at the old ones that I didn't edit before and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, what was I thinking at this point? You know, and so that's, I really encourage everybody to write things down, but also seek humor at all costs. No one likes to sit in that pity party. And I'm the first person, when I know somebody's down, I will be the first person to bring them back up. I will find a way to make them laugh. I will find a way. Somebody was having a really bad time and I was going in for an MRI, and I just texted them. I was like, oh, I just farted in the MRI machine. And just immediately they started burst out in laughing, and it changes the mood. And it was, again, this is from my mother, and I wish that she was here. I miss her, but she's here. And all of that I learned from her is part of like what I do in my own stand-up routines when I do stand-up. You know, I do vocal impressions, I do singing impressions. So there is nothing more addictive to me than making an audience laugh with something you said or something you did on stage. And I got to tell you, it's my crack. It's my heroin, is making people laugh. And that's what I hope the books do.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. First, I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending your time with us today, for being so open and honest and so vulnerable with us as well. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And I'm just wondering if you'd be able to give some information to people who are listening or watching at home, where they can find you if they have any questions, or if they want to get more information about your upcoming books. Where can people find you?
Absolutely. Email me at escape-to-ravioli-mountain@gmail.com. I'm building my mailing list for the books through there too. So you can be added to my mailing list. As soon as the books are ready, you will get the first link. And if they mention your show, I will make sure that they get an autographed copy if they do order.
That's amazing. Yes. Thank you so much for that.
Also, you can find me on Instagram at escape-to-ravioli-mountain. And you can also find me at Bobby Hedglin-Taylor on Instagram as well. That's just my regular sort of theatrical connection with people. And I'm on Facebook too. You know, look out for me there. And but those are the two main ones. Escape to Ravioli Mountain is the name of the book, and the cookbook. And Shit My Mama Says is the other book, and they'll be out by this fall for sure. But I should have definitely links by August. So
I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for the Escape to Ravioli Mountain. To be fair, I'll be keeping an eye out for both of them. They both seem like they are up my street anyway. I can't wait to kind of see all of these little stories, but then also cook some really good food as well, which I'm really looking forward to as well. So yeah. Have you got some final thoughts for our viewers and listeners at home?
Laugh every day. Find a way to laugh every day. There's nothing more healing. If you're laughing, you're breathing. If you're sad, your lungs don't inflate as often as they should, or as big as they should. When you laugh, you immediately inflate, and then your body gets oxygen, and you get this more of a relaxed sensation, but you get a sense of peace the more you laugh. And it's not, and we've all been through the ringer. You know, put aside my story. My story has been amplified and repeated hundreds of times in the United States and worldwide. Put it aside. Find a way to laugh every day.
I like that. And that's because I've had a sneak peek at your quote for today. And what you've just said there really links with your quote for today. So at the end of every show, I give my guests the opportunity to give a quote. And I'm just wondering if you got a quote for me today.
Laugh every day. Trying to find a way to laugh every day. There it is. I got my cue in my scrotum. I'm reading right off the screen there. Tell a scrotum. No, try to find a way to laugh, people. There is so much bad shit going on worldwide. Find a way to laugh. That's the only way you're going to get through it. Because if we sit in that pit, that cesspool of horrible feelings, you're not gonna get out of that. You're not gonna grow. And no matter what, laugh.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Me laugh. I love your show. And
thank you,
Leela. Thank you for that. I love this show. I loved connecting with you, and I hope that we can see each other in person someday. Hopefully I'll be over in the UK.
Definitely. Well, if you come over to the UK, the nearest place to me, which would be ideal for you, would be Manchester.
Oh,
so Manchester's the easiest way. If you fly over to the UK, you go, "Hey, I'm in London." There ain't no way I'm coming down because I can't get to London.
Well, I used to live in Wolverhampton for a very short period of time in the 80s, so I do know that Birmingham is all the way out there.
So yeah, Manchester is the ideal location, but please, 100%, we will definitely connect again in the future. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you once again, and you are free to say your goodbyes.
Oh, goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much. And when the books are out, obviously get them, but email me, check in. I also cook live with people on Instagram. So if anybody wants to cook live with me sometime, we can cook together. Even you and I can cook together live on Instagram.
Nice. We'll definitely be doing that in the future. I can guarantee it. Thank you so much again.
Right. Bye, everybody.
You can say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Marcus.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Wow, what an amazing episode. I knew I had an amazing episode for you. You just had to believe me. Thank you so much once again, Bobby, for being such an open and honest and vulnerable person with us. It's been such an absolute pleasure. What a great episode. Thank you so much, guys, at home, for listening and participating and for your comments and your questions. And thank you so much. You do it every single week. I love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Here we go. Next week. So next week's episode is Come Fly With Me. And we are joined by Jackie Roby, who deals with people all around the world and talks about how much you need to travel to really improve your mental health. Now, obviously, for us here in the UK, travel is something that everybody is wanting to do. We've been locked down for absolutely ages. And Jackie Roby will be here to talk about why it's important for us to travel, especially for our own mental health. But also, with Jackie's organization, you can actually travel virtually as well. So if, for example, you aren't ready to jump on a plane and jet off wherever, there are ways and means to travel virtually with Jackie's organization. And I think it's just going to be such a great episode to watch. Her story is going to be really, really good as well. And also talking about why travel is important. We need to travel. We are human beings. We need to travel. We need to get out there. We need to get out there in the world. Even if it's just virtually as well, to be fair. So yeah, make sure that you tune in for next week's episode because it's going to be fab. My name is Marcus Wright. You can find all the information to do with Spill It, all of the information about my future guests, past guests, and links to all of the episodes over on the Spill It website at www.spillit.uk. You can also find ways to support me over on the website too. There are merch you can buy. You could buy the brand new Spill It beanies. You could buy the Spill It hoodies and also Spill It t-shirts. There are going to be more t-shirts arriving soon as well. And we are down to the last 7. I've ordered, by the way, guys, thank you so much. I've ordered altogether 200 beanie hats. I am now down to the last 7 beanie hats, okay? So we are now down to the last 7 beanie hats available, the limited edition Spill It beanies. There are 7 available. If you are wanting one of those, make sure you get in touch. The other way that you can support me is obviously by signing up to Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's basically a way that you can continuously support me by subscribing to Spill It for £2 per month. And if you do subscribe to Spill It and you become an official Patreon supporter, you get access to further discounts, you get extra episodes, you get to come to a one-to-one with me and my guest, where you can come on and you can talk about whatever you want to with my guest. There's so many different things that you can do, and all you have to do is subscribe by supporting me by subscribing by £2 per month. I've said that completely wrong. So you can support me by donating as little as £2 per month over on the official Patreon site. The other 2 ways that you can support me are by inviting people into the Spill It community. Whether you're watching this via Facebook or you want to share this via your podcasting streaming service, then make sure you do so, and you can invite people into the Spill It community, and that is another way that you can support me. And then finally, the last way that you can support me is by leaving a review. If you liked this episode or liked any of the other episodes or like the work that I do, then leave me a review. You can leave a review over on Facebook or Apple Podcasts as well. On other podcast streaming services as well, wherever you're listening to this, please leave me a review if you liked this. 5 stars, please. 5 stars. Nothing but 5 stars. But yes, please leave me a review. It means the world to me. I love reading them as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, takes us to the end of the show. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Yvonne is there. Fab story. Yep, it was a fab story. You're right. Thank you so much, everybody, for your comments, for participating, and for watching today's episode. My name is Marcus, and until next time, it's bye for now. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Spill It. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to do so. Spill It goes live every week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And a special thank you to these amazing teacups.